On World Cafe, you just heard All Things End. It's from the new EP, Eat Your Young from Hozier. He's my guest today. I'm Raina Duras. It has been 10 years since you released your breakthrough hit, Take Me to Church, which was a response to how the Catholic Church treats LGBTQ people. Last fall, a video of a Tennessee Tech University student's drag performance to Take Me to Church was circulated by conservative, politicians and pundits saying that it was mocking Christianity in front of children. I know a few days from today, when we're taping this interview, you'll be performing at a benefit for Love Rising, a pro-LGBTQ organization in Tennessee, where they recently passed an anti-drag law. What is it like to have this song that you wrote in your bedroom like a decade ago take on a life of its own, become part of the issue that you were singing about, and sort of become an anthem?
I don't know. I will say I've performed that song maybe thousands of times at this point. I've never had anyone say that I was mocking. I've never received that response. And I think the difference is that I maybe wasn't wearing women's clothing when I did it, and it wasn't to do with queer culture and drag culture. But I will say also, to my knowledge, there's absolutely nothing in the Bible that says anything about men wearing women's clothing. It's interesting. I don't know. It's amazing. I do know it says somewhere in the Bible that if you wear two types of threads, you must submit yourself to be flogged.
That's going to be tough.
Yeah. So I don't.
We're both in trouble.
I usually see politicians wearing two types of threads. They don't. Yeah. So highly selective. That's very confusing to me about what seems to be mocking religion and what's not. But it seems fine when I do it. So yeah, I think it's really troubling how quickly we've gotten to a point where this is a global thing. It's not just here in America, but I really feel for people in Tennessee where that's their elected leadership is choosing the routes that they're taking at the moment. And to see, that there is such hostility, and in some cases armed hostility, is quite terrifying. And it's staggering how fast we've gotten here. And I think when I first released that song, and the video in particular was focusing on laws that were passed in Russia at the time, which criminalized homosexuality, placed it in with what it defined as like non-traditional sexual orientations, and they made it tantamount to like child abuse and bestiality. What's stunning is that I remember being asked many, many times, why make this video and why raise this? This is happening somewhere else. And all I could say was, like, look, we live in a borderless world. We spend most of our time online, really, when we're engaging with each other. We have there's only a matter of time before this culture finds its way across borders. Right now, within the EU, you have areas in certain cities in I believe Poland and Hungary that are classified as gay-free zones, LGBTQ plus free zones. That's remarkable. And then over here you have armed militias outside of gay clubs. So it's amazing how fast, and it's so depressing to say that the song is nearly more applicable now than it was then. Yeah. And I it's weird to say that, but here we are. I don't know.
I mean, I think that's accurate. Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
Every generation, I think, believes that they're sort of living in the end times, or like things have never been as bad as they are right now. And in these new songs, and many of your songs, you look at current issues through the lens of ancient or very old texts, like you were saying earlier, Greek mythology, Irish folklore. What does studying those stories written by people centuries or millennia ago, what does that teach you about being alive right now?
I think what drew me to it is, and I kind of more gained an interest in it through, I was a huge, I'm just a total Seamus Heaney fanboy is what I would, but I'm a big I'm constantly reading Seamus Heaney's work, and it's through his translations then. What I found in, let's say, just going back to like snippets of Homer, these kind of epic soliloquies, is that he'll describe in a very, very long passage the shaking of knees of a man as he watches his friend be cut down in violence. And there's something like really visceral and very terrifyingly human, that we have this idea that there was a time when violence was, it was just every day, or we accept that that once upon a time human beings were okay with butchering each other, is very, like, even in Homer you can find these moments where human beings know how unnatural like violence is towards each other, right, that it's so damaging and its legacy is so long lasting. And I guess it to me it's more seeing these things of like fantastical Iron Age or Bronze Age ideas of like men going at each other with swords and shields. But there's also in there these descriptions of just how traumatic and horrifying that was. Yeah. And I think I think I found that more interesting at first, and then seeing that the humanity was still very much intact and it was still completely wounded, psychologically wounded by that, and so that's in a weird way that's quite I won't say it's comforting. It's horrible, but it
is. I mean, it's comforting to know that we're not the first ones to feel that way. Yeah,
that there is some consensus of how unnatural that cruelty is. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I think that's something that's what sort of drew me to it, I guess, at first.
I mean, you said it in the new album that it will be a playful and joyful sort of.
It is.
Like, I don't want to say romp necessarily, but I'm curious. Like, how did you keep that sense of play and joy while you were working through some stuff that could be considered pretty heavy?
Yeah, and like, God, I've really picked some real dark topics here. I'm so sorry. But
okay.
No, I think they are. Like, Eat Your Young is super playful. There's so many songs. This is wonderful. I actually can't. There's so much I can't really talk about yet for the album. But there's some really just fun, joyful music. And I think because I'd been alone for so much in the pandemic, it's the first time that at the end of it, I decided to sort of co-write in earnest and jam music with other musicians, which is something I really cherished and really enjoyed after being in isolation for so long. And I think the results of that was really fruitful and really fun and really invigorating for me creatively. But then also I think the music really shows in the music, So I'm looking forward for people to hear this.
Yeah, I think I'm looking forward to it. I know a lot of people are. On a personal level, then, aside from how did you keep the music joyful, when you are you're watching all of these things happen, and you're clearly a sensitive person who takes that stuff in, you write about it, how do you preserve yourself? How do you keep a sense of optimism and hope?
I don't. I don't really. I don't. I do in my own sense. I think it's trying to remain in the actual space with people. Mm-hmm. I did find that the more time I spent online and on social media, watching rhetoric really fall into the gutter, watching like people's dialogues with one another, the way people respond to one another, the way it's a kind of it's a currency of reaction, and people operate in bad faith on those terms, and I just found I've made more so the decision to live in the community that I, you know what I mean, to live in a community of being in space and in time and engaging with people around me,
It's a lot easier to remember that people are people.
Yes.
When you see them in real life.
When you see them in real life, yeah, absolutely.
Well, Hozier, thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure talking to you.
You too. Thank you very much. Thank you.